Right then. Morning, everyone. I got one wave from the back. That was extra nice. Thank you. Now I've got loads of waves. So there you go. And some more. Too late now. The moment's gone. Nice to see you all. Again. Pleasure. I noticed that you're sitting on your own. That's not what she said. So what are we talking about? What were we talking about yesterday? So if you remember, we were talking about that sometimes God has to kind of drag us to the kingdom. And actually, afterwards, too late afterwards, I was thinking about how, John kind of showed us the verse that says, the Lord is a schoolmaster to lead us unto Christ. I like the way he put it. It's like a truant officer, that actually taking kids who don't want to go to kind of where they should go. And in some ways, that's a very similar idea, that sometimes God has to take us through difficult times and drag us through them because it'll get us home, because it'll get us to the kingdom. And that has to happen. And, we looked at how, God said, look, you're not going to be perfect. Get used to it. But actually, just try. And if you put that effort in, my son's sacrifice can make up the difference. Doesn't matter how big the difference is. And also, you watch that video of Mushraf and how he kind of overcame things and how that made us feel. And there's a lot to learn there. So actually, God is very clear. Okay, we've got the Bible, and the Bible is a very big book, but actually God's message itself is very clear. He doesn't hide anything. You can't say, well, you never told me that was going to happen, because actually it's all in the Bible. And he says, if you do this, this will happen. If you do that, that will happen. One day, my son will return. And if you've done that, that's the outcome. And if you've done that, that's the outcome. He doesn't hide anything. And really, it's a very simple message. Believe. That's what it's about. Put your trust in me. That's the message. And get the reward now and in the future. I was thinking about this. I'll ask you, what do you think is probably the most famous verse in the Bible? Whoa! And that's why Matt Till is running this conference. Wow, John 3:16, he's straight out there. I would say this is probably the most famous verse in the Bible. For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have eternal life. Because it's the kind of thing, you'll see it at sporting events in the States and stuff like that. People hold it up on posters. And it's the kind of thing that people have heard. Now, that verse there is basically the whole gospel in one verse. God loved the world, so he gave his Son. And if you believe in him, you won't die, but you'll have eternal life. That is the whole gospel, the whole of the Bible, if you like, condensed down to one verse. And you can't ever say God's message isn't clear or isn't obvious or that he's hidden it or it's confusing, because actually that's it, boiled right down. Yes, you can go deeper and you can go into Ezekiel and Revelation, the prophecies of Daniel, and try and work out what Jude's about and things like that. You can do that. But if you really want to say, look, what's it all about? God says, here you go, one verse. Okay, that's God. What's the alternative? What's the world's message, if you like? I would suggest that the message of the world, society, however you want to frame it, is a lot harder to define. It's a lot harder to figure out what it is. And that's really interesting, because if you've got two different parties, if you like, both vying for your life, and one is saying, no, come and join us, like those two circles, and the other one's saying, no, come and join us, you want to know what they both say. Obviously, I don't vote, but if I did, and one political party said, here's our message, it's this, 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 and this, and the other one said, oh, I don't really know. Give us your vote. I'm not going to vote for them. That'd be a great political party, though. I'd like to see that. It would make politics a lot more refreshing, let's be honest. Okay, let's try and work out what is the alternative, because if you're thinking not God, then basically what's the alternative? I would suggest, well, I wouldn't suggest, it's well known, we live in what is called a postmodern age. I said the other day we might talk about postmodernism, and this is basically the opposite of you standing up and doing a Keep Fit class 10 minutes ago. Right? We're going to talk about postmodernism and modern philosophy. So get your cushions and your sleeping bags and settle down. Right? Try and make it through. It's important. Probably more important than you can imagine. So The world's views at the moment can be summed up as being postmodern. We live in a postmodern age. What is postmodernism? It's really important you know this, because this is what you're in the middle of, right? So, the simplest description, actually, in many ways, is off Wikipedia. So, postmodernism is a late 20th century movement in the arts, architecture, and criticism that was a departure from modernism. And now you're going, oh, I've got to find out what modernism is now. Postmodernism includes skeptical interpretations of culture, literature, art, philosophy, history, economics, architecture, fiction, and literary criticism. Right. So basically, it says that's where we are at the moment, and it's actually a key tenet, if you look in postmodernism, is to be skeptical of things. In other words, say, oh, I don't know about that. Okay, what's modernism? This is what it sprung out of. Central to modernity is emancipation from religion. That basically means freedom from religion. So a central part of what the society you're in is the idea, oh, thank goodness for that, we got rid of religion, we're free from that now. That is a central part of like the world's values right now. Specifically the hegemony. Now, good word basically means the kind of control, the authority, the power of Christianity, and the consequent secularization. So in other words, let's get rid or move as far away as we can from Christianity and we'll be free. Modern thought repudiates the Judeo-Christian belief in the biblical God as a mere relic of superstitious ages. They're going to get surprised when Christ comes back. That'll be the quickest re-edit of Wikipedia ever. You know, delete, delete, delete. It all started with Descartes' revolutionary methodic doubt, which I know you're all aware of, so I won't go into Descartes' methodic doubt, which transformed the concept of truth. Now, this is important. Which transformed the concept of truth in the concept of certainty, whose only guarantor is no longer God or the church, but man's subjective judgment. Let me try and explain what that means. It used to be that basically truth was what God said it was. And actually now, it's not what God said it was or is. That's not truth. Truth is your subjective judgment. That means if it's subjective, it's basically up to you. If you really want to boil postmodernism down, what it says is, if you think something is right, it is. Because that's your subjective truth. So, we have a society that is built on an idea that if you think something is right, it is. So truth, basically, is whatever everyone says it is. Now, give you a visual example of this. You can see it really well in art. So, particularly in Brit art, actually, there's a big kind of Brit art movement in the 90s and the early 2000s. You may have seen some of these before. If you like cows, look away now. So, this is a work by Damien Hirst, who's a very controversial artist, made one of the most expensive pieces of art of all time. It's basically a skull covered in diamonds. It's absolutely amazing in a weird way. This is called Love's Paradox. You would have guessed that, right? Like you looked at these two half cows and went, oh, that's Love's Paradox. Okay, so he did a whole series of these. There was Mother and Child Divided, which was two cows both cut in half lengthways, a mother and its calf. There was a shark that was cut in half lengthways. They're all kind of set in formaldehyde. So you may look at this, and I wouldn't blame you, and go, that's not art. That's two halves of a cow. But it is art, because Damien Hirst says it is. Okay? Now, I could actually make an artistic argument for this. You know, it goes a bit beyond that. But most people would look at that and say, that's not art, because, well, it's just not. But if Damien Hirst says it's art, it is art. Tough. Even more extreme example of this is this one, My Bed by Tracy Emin, right? Now, has anyone seen this before? Just a few of you. This won a major, probably the major art prize in Britain, right? This is worth hundreds of thousands of pounds. And what happened, Tracy Emin, who again is a very controversial artist, Tracy Emin got out of bed one day and went, that's art, that is, and sold it for a fortune. Now, I know what you're thinking. No way. I've got a bed. If I get out of that, can I get a couple of $100,000? Probably not. But this is a kind of major piece of postmodern art. But the point is, Tracy Emin gets out of her bed, and you can see the state of her bedroom, right? Gets out of her bed, and if she says that is art, you can't say it's not. Because postmodernism says that every person is right if they say it is. So if she says it's art, she's right. So you can kind of see that this kind of postmodern thing can be a little bit odd, should we say. Okay, where does this lead us? We have a biblical example of this. We don't, because we've got a lot to get through. We don't have time to turn these up now. A couple of verses from Judges. Judges 21, verse 25. In those days, there was no king in Israel. Everyone did what was right in his own eyes. And also Judges 17, verse 6. In those days, there was no king in Israel. Everyone did what was right in his own eyes. We're in a society where basically you do what is right in your own eyes, and it is right. Because it's not about God having a standard, it is about your own subjective judgment. Where did it lead Israel? This is the book of Judges. Whenever you see this verse, what happens is Israel gets itself in a complete mess and God has to send another judge. This is like one of those warning signs. It's like everyone did what was right in his own eyes and the whole place went to pot. And that's where we are. We're in a postmodern age where if you say something's right, it is. Now, that's very interesting because people like to apply a very critical eye to Christianity. You know, they like to say, well, I don't believe that, and how can that possibly be right? And do you really believe that, etc., etc.? Okay, let's do the same to postmodernism. Okay, so postmodernism rejects Christianity. But as a Christian, I reject postmodernism, and I'm right. Oh, hold on a moment. That means postmodernism's wrong, but it can't be. How can that work? It doesn't make sense, does it? It defeats its own argument. So we're living in basically an age of nonsense. No, seriously. Because someone can say, postmodernism, everyone is right. And I say, then postmodernism's wrong. Oh. Well, you can't have both. How does that work? This is not like different tastes, you know. Well, I quite like this painting. Do you like it? No, it's not so keen. Or like we all have different tastes in music, right? It's not, you know, we're not talking about a taste difference. We're talking about what is considered the truth, which is a very important word. And postmodernism can kind of eat itself up, if you like. It rejects Christianity, but it also has to accept it if someone says, I accept Christianity. We're living in an age of nonsense. What about this? Okay, postmodernism means that everyone's subjective truth is the truth. So what you think is right is right. So let's say a guy comes in here and he says, I think we should kill all the Jews, or kill all the black people, or kill all, you know, you pick some kind of minority or ethnic group or whatever. Now, we would go, wrong, that's wrong. But not to him. To him, it's right. And actually, that's his subjective truth. So he is right. How dangerous is that? We're actually living in a society that says the truth is whatever you say it is. And so if someone says, well, I think we should do something absolutely horrific, fine, that's the truth, according to you. Go off and do what you want, and everyone is right. I showed this little video the other day to a few people after my elective, and they were interviewing these kind of college campus students, and this one girl said, I don't feel it's my right as a human being to tell another human being that anything is right or wrong. Hold on a moment. Right, so if I said, great, can I stab you? You go, no, because that's not the kind of thing you should. Well, hold on. I should be allowed to do that. Shouldn't I? Because that's what you're saying. It's a crazy idea. How can everybody be right? It doesn't make sense. I really kind of don't get it. I describe it, and the reason for this weird title, wax cylinders rubbish. Does anyone know what a wax cylinder is? A few people. A bit worryingly, one person on the tech team knows what wax cylinder is. Wax cylinder is it's basically the earliest form of audio recording. So they had a cylinder with wax, right? And it's like a very early record. You don't know what a record is. Oh no, vinyl. Vinyl's making a comeback, so that's good. Yeah, I'm a bit worried that someone on the tech team knows what. They're probably there winding a wax cylinder now, recording this talk. You don't know what a wax cylinder is, so that joke makes no sense whatsoever. Okay, the world's message is a bit like a wax cylinder. To me, God's message, John 3:16, and all those other things, is completely clear. It is crystal clear and in perfect detail. Beautiful. And then the world's message is kind of confused and it's a little bit mumbly because we're not sure. I'll play you a wax cylinder recording. You ready for this? You're going to love this. Okay. So you might have to turn the volume right up. Here we go. Good, isn't it? Right. You all like that, and Phil Pooley's at the back. He's drumming along to it. I've got this one. Awesome. It's kind of, I can kind of tell what's going on, but it kind of, you go, well, would you rather have this kind of scratchy, confused, quite hard to understand message, or do you want the message that is crystal clear of God? He's not hiding anything. His argument isn't self-defeating. It's your choice. Which do you want? And you have to be suspicious of anyone who either has a self-defeating argument or an argument that actually doesn't quite make sense or they're not quite sure what it is. You have to be suspicious of that, surely, if your life's based on it. Okay, let's have a look at this. God's message is loud and clear. I had a look at this, right? We'll try this. I was going to screen grab these Google pages. I thought, no, I'll actually show you, so I'm not lying, like I would, right? That would be really weird, wouldn't it? If I stood up here and just said, oh, go on, let's tell some lies. They'll never know, 300 of them. This will be great. That is a medical condition, people that, who are forced to lie. So, for example, even if you said, oh, what did you have for dinner last night? They might have had steak, and they'll say, I had fish. And it's really interesting. We get distracted. Okay, have a look. Okay, let's have a look at how this affects you, right? What is the world's message and how does it affect you? I'm going to drop, don't worry, tech team, they're panicking. I'm loading the wax cylinder now. Here we go. So, I will rearrange my displays. Here we go, now you can see. Ta-da! Okay, let's close that. Oh, Andy Murray is retiring. Who cares? We all prefer Roger Federer. Most British people actually prefer Roger Federer. Can you believe that? Hey? Oh, there you go. Mind you, why would you like Andy Murray? You've got Nick Kyrgios. Ooh, touched a nerve there. Right. I'm going to Google something for you, and I will Google, okay. I know that a lot of you aren't teenagers, but how to have a successful, I Google this, successful teenage life. How to have a successful teenage life, right? Okay, so here's the top article off WikiHow. I'm going to load this up, and there's something really weird, right? And when you notice it, you're like, huh? Okay, have a look at this. It's got pictures as well. Right, this is the number one thing. Tell me when you notice what is really odd about this. It's got nothing to do with what I'm saying, but it's really strange. Yeah, he's got an extra hand, right? What's that? Where does that come from? So basically, he's got his arms by his side, but or someone else's hand is coming around here. When you see it, you can't not see it. No. I don't think that's part of being a successful teenager, growing an extra hand off your arm like that. Okay, So this is what, just have a look at this. This is what, the top here, about how to have a successful teenage life. And it's all the things you kind of expect, right? So what have we got? We got do well in school, no matter how boring it is, it says. Help out in your community. Figure out your goals in life and work towards them. Don't get into any trouble, legal or otherwise. Okay. Be nice to your parents and teachers. Good. Have good friends to help you out. Hey, look at them looking at each other. You're a good friend. That's probably not his hand. That's his third hand, you know. Get active. Get active. Do what you love, even if it's fishing. Believe in something, which is summed up by going like that. She actually looks like she's about to punch someone. Live life to the fullest. Okay, now those are the kind of things you'd expect. That is, if you like, the message of the world. You want to be successful, do all these things, be respectful, live life to the fullest, follow things that you love, etc., etc. That's not actually, though, what you are receiving through the society around you. I will do another Google search, and let's see what comes up. Right, let's do a search for teenage magazines. Let's go on to images. Oh, great. I love you, Zach. It's Troy Bulbous. Whatever his name is, you know. All I know is that every film he ends up going at some point, right? At some point he will. It's true, isn't it? High School Musical consists of him solely doing that, right? You may not be able to read this. So these are the kind of things. Freak alert. I love her so much, I collect her hair in a bottle. You see? Phil Poole has been mentioned twice today, so that's good. Inside the secret world of boys. There you go. All these, what fun things. High School Musical, blah, blah. What else? Let's have a look at another one. This is 17 magazine. 625 pretty looks for you. Party hair, how to get the best body, etc., etc. I've read that article. Doesn't work. Don't laugh, that's rude, right? 50 ways to get sexy hair, 10 secrets to perfect skin, 5 moves to a hotter body, plus the coolest bag, shoes, jewelry, and more. It says, I was almost killed on my way home from, but it doesn't say what. Hope it doesn't say conference. What he tells his friends after you hook up, crazy ex-boyfriends, etc., etc. And actually, you know, you could go through magazine after magazine and, you know, anything that's aimed at young people, and it's the same. Where are the things that say, respect people, live life to the fullest, stand up for what you believe in? Where do you see? You never see that. So basically, yeah, people say, how do I have a successful life? Well, you should respect people and do this and do that. But it says that, you know, you're known basically by what you do. That proves what you believe. Have a look around, and you can look on the internet and all kinds of things. What is actually being told to you? It's actually really superficial stuff. I don't see anything about respect or anything like that. I don't see anything about being compassionate to each other. I don't see anything about being forgiving or whatever it may be. I see lots of stuff about kind of superficial things. That actually, you have to look like this. You have to be into this. That's actually what is surrounding you. That is the message, if you like. And when you start to notice it, I mean, next time you go into a big news agents, actually go and have a look at all the magazines. See how many you can find that have, and I'm not even going to call it, if you like, a Christian message necessarily. I'm going to call it just a good message. See if you can find any that have those on the front that are aimed at you. I'd be surprised, you might do, but I'd be surprised if you did. Here's another example. So, Tesco, one of the biggest, well, probably the biggest supermarket retailer in Britain. This advert came out on YouTube. This really winds me up. Right, so let's see if we can work out why it winds Joe up. Here we go.
2 kilometers.
Your phone is more than just your phone.
It's nice to hear your voice again.
It's kind of your life.
No, it's not. How is your phone your life? No, seriously. So this is someone, this is no kind of accident that that line is in there. Some marketing executive somewhere has said, or ad executive or something has gone, right, what should we say? Well, your phone's your life. People are like that. If that is my life, I have got one very sad life because my family are not in there. I have photos of my family and little videos and things like that, but my family are not in there. I have the online Bible on there and various other Bible apps, but really my faith is inside me. You are not in my phone. It'd be creepy, right? I have photos of you all in my phone. Every night, swipe, 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 like, swipe. You are not in my phone. I would rather be here doing this than say going, oh, look, there's a picture of you all in my phone. How is your phone your life? But that someone is saying, this is a key message. We'll put it out. Right. Let me just play this again, because it's going to wind me up, but I'm going to stop it again. No, I'm going to stop it in a minute.
2 kilometers.
Your phone is more than just your phone.
It's nice to hear your voice again.
It's kind of your life.
I've waited all day long.
And at Tesco Mobile, we want to make your life a little better. With capped contracts putting you in control of your bill, monthly rewards for all...
Okay, have a look at this family. I feel for this little girl who is not old enough to have a phone, so she has to do something so terrible like drawing. How awful for her. The rest of the family are not interacting at all. They're all in their own little world. I think that's pathetic. I hate that. I really do. But apparently, that's the message, right? This is what you're being surrounded with. If that advert came up, you were watching a YouTube video, and it's one of those where you can't skip it, and it's really annoying, right? And you can't skip it, and you have to watch it. You would watch it normally, and I'd probably watch it and not really think anything about it. And that means that message is going in because you keep hearing it. Oh, actually, yeah, maybe my phone is my life. Maybe actually this is the way that we interact now. Well, we don't interact. We each kind of sit on our own personal devices. It's really sad. Basically, the world is trying to sell you something that isn't right for you. It's not right for you, but it keeps saying it is, it is, it is. Why would you buy into something that isn't right? I remember when I lived in London, I went to buy a pair of trainers or something. I went into central London. I went into one of those massive sports stores. I actually went downstairs to the trainer department. It was one of those where, they have the kind of shop assistants who have clearly lost the will to live, and it's like, hi, and I said, eventually I found, so who got these in a size 10, right? I'll go and have a look for you, right? So she walks off. And she took absolutely ages. It's weird the things you remember. I was so bored, I was actually reading the back of the packets of shin pads by the time she got back. That's how bored I was, right? Oh, extra coverage, that's good. Right. She comes back, she goes, sorry, we don't have them in a 10. I went, oh, it's fine, I'll leave it. Thanks ever so much, thank you. And I walked off, and over here, and she shouted after me. She went, we've got them in a 7. And how does this help me? I mean, what am I meant to do with that? Does she think I'm going to go, oh, yeah, it'll be a bit of a squeeze. I'll just chop my toes off. It'll be fine. Let's give it a go, hey? I mean, it's crazy. Like I'm going to go, yeah, I'll take the 7s. Why not? 3 sizes out. Let's do it. She's trying to sell me something that just isn't right for me. But and in that situation, you go, well, why on earth would you take it? There's no way you'd take it because it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit my feet, right? Why would you buy into something that actually doesn't suit your life? Something that says, hey, hold on, that's not the way I want to live my life. Or I don't want my life to be about getting the latest looks and the latest hair and the latest this makeup and that. I want the bigger, the better things, the more important things. So why buy into something that isn't right for you? Why do we do that? It's really dangerous because basically it's really easy for it to kind of come into you, if you like. Think about if you move to a foreign country and you live there for a bit, your accent starts to change. Why? You're not a different person. You just start to pick up because that's what's around you and it kind of goes into you. When we moved from Oxfordshire, which is very middle class, okay, Oxfordshire, very middle class, darling. We moved from a village in Oxfordshire, I should say, sorry, love. And we moved up to Birmingham, right, which is great, Birmingham. It's really cool up there. You should come round. We can go live for a pint and a kebab, right? Come up to Birmingham, come and see me, right? If you're ever in Birmingham, look me up. Seriously, come and say hello. And that's actually a genuine offer, but don't all come at once, right? Because that wouldn't be good. Conference in my back garden, that'd be fun. But we moved up to Birmingham, right? My son, Harry, who, to be honest, I've given him a right ribbon, this guy. I love him very much. I just keep picking on him. But he moved up to Birmingham, and he talked quite normally, but kind of like this, which I consider vaguely normal. When he gets on the Xbox, and he's got his headphones on, he's talking to his friends, and his friends are all from Birmingham, right? And it's hilarious, because he'll kind of go, Dad, do you know when tea will be ready? I think it'll be about another 20 minutes. Okay, just let me know. No way, man, you just shot me. What are you doing? Who are you? Harry, have you heard your voice? What's that, Dad? Sorry, no, it's just my dad. He keeps coming in the room. But he doesn't know he's doing it because he's surrounded by people with a different accent, and you absorb whatever is around you. I'm going to show you a video. It lasts a few minutes. So we'll go through, I was going to say we'll go through it quickly, but we can't really do that. Speed it up, the wax cylinder. Okay. Right, so this is, yes, okay. So some of you may or may not have heard of, he's not really a magician, he doesn't like that. A guy called Darren Brown, he does kind of mind tricks and stuff. If you know Simon Pegg's an actor, you may recognize him. He's in Mission Impossible and all kinds of British comedy and stuff like that. So just to give you, this is about 5 minutes long, something like that. But it's absolutely fascinating. I will kind of preface it for you. What happened is, and Darren Brown will go over this again a little bit, but just so you're clear, Darren Brown met with Simon Pegg. This is like 2004 or something. He met with Simon Pegg and he said, I want you to think what you always wanted as a kid. What present did you really, really want, but you never got? He said, and Simon Pegg writes it down, doesn't tell him, seals it, signs it, puts it in his wallet. And then like a week later or something, they meet up again. So Darren Brown has no idea what Simon Pegg wanted. Okay? And so you'll see them come in. Clever, isn't it? Oh. People are like, do I applaud that or not? He played with his mind. Now, okay, the really interesting thing about this, and he's done loads of stuff like this, what is really interesting about this is the fact that basically by dropping little things into someone's mind, eventually that's what they believe is like true. That's it. This is a really good word for it. It's insidious. An adjective proceeding in to proceed in a gradual, subtle way, but with harmful effects. So think about yourself in that situation. So let's say, when I was at school, let's put it this way. When I started the job I'm doing now, I went from working for myself to actually being in an office where the language is terrible. And suddenly words started coming out to me that I didn't want to say. I had no desire to say them. I hadn't thought, should I start using this language? It's just they started slipping out. And I had to stop myself and go, what's going on here? Well, it just happened. It may happen for you. You know, if you hang around with a certain group of people, it's not that you consciously know that these things are going in, but because it's happening little bit by little bit in an insidious way, it influences you and changes the way you behave. You can't help it. That is why something like this is so good, because to be honest, we cut away most of those things. That is why you have to be so careful. Remember all that stuff about the messages society's giving you, looking at, for example, magazine covers and all that. If you see that thing enough times that says you have to have the perfect body, you start believing you have to have the perfect body, and you start feeling bad about your own. You just can't help it. Simon Pegg, it wasn't like he was thinking, oh, I know what he's doing here. It just happens. We have to be so careful. Have a look, please, at Genesis 13. If it happens to people in the Bible, it can certainly happen to us. Genesis 13, we've got the story of, it's the very start of the story about Lot. You know about Lot, and Lot eventually ended up in Sodom, and the terrible things that happened then, how he had to escape, and his wife turned into a pillar of salt because God sent down the fire from heaven and destroyed Lot and all those things. What do we know about Lot? What does the New Testament tell us about Lot? You said it, and someone else said, yeah, Lot was a righteous man. So there you go, 2 Peter 7 verse 8, 2 Peter 2, 7 and 8. God rescued Lot, a righteous man who's distressed by the depraved conduct of the lawless, etc. So Lot was righteous. This is not a wayward character. This is not a man given to sin. He was righteous. He was trying to do the right thing. He was a godly person. Okay, what happens? What is the start of his problems? Genesis 13, just one verse. Have a look at verse 12. Abraham lived in the land of Canaan, while Lot lived among the cities of the plain and pitched his tents near, or the King James says, towards Sodom. Not in Sodom, not next to Sodom, but kind of in that general direction. He would have known about Sodom and how sinful and lawless and the depraved things that went on there. But it's okay, because actually, I'm not in Sodom. I'm just near it. Maybe, possibly, the word indicates his tent actually pointed towards it. It's kind of when he got out, that's what he saw in the morning. What happened, do you think? How did he get from that to being an elder sitting in the city gates and living there and the terrible things that happen? Well, I'm just trading. I'll trade with Sodom, but I'm not living there. It's fine. I'm only trading. So I'd send my servants there. Then I'll go there to do some business deals. But I go out again. Well, actually, it seems crazy to be so far. I'll move my tents a bit closer. And then actually I'll get a bit closer. Maybe I'll move there, but I still consider what they do wicked. I still think they're doing awful things. I'm not a part of it, right? I'm living amongst it, but I disagree with it. Which is a kind of excuse we often give ourselves sometimes. Oh, it's okay. I know I'm surrounded by all this sin, but, I recognize it's sin and I'm not part of it. And Lot ended up going from there right over to here and being an elder sitting in the city gate, sitting there as this kind of big man of one of the most important people in this city. It was insidious. It happened bit by bit. And this is what happened to a righteous man. It crept up on him. And once he started down that path, he couldn't stop. And let's not pull any punches about it. Lot, the righteous man, ended up offering his daughters to be gang raped by a town. It's that shocking. And it says it. Let's be clear about it. A righteous man went from there to something so despicable it's hard to talk about over there. If it can happen to Lot, and it happens in that insidious, well, I'm just doing this, well, it's just, actually, maybe it's not that bad and all this stuff. Can it not happen on a much smaller scale to you or to me? We have to be careful of what is around us and that it doesn't creep up on us. Don't start down that path. There's a Chinese proverb I love. Says, he who rides a tiger is afraid to dismount. It's great to get on the tiger and you're riding it and go, this is fantastic. And then when you want to get off, you can't because the tiger will eat you. You can go down a path, you go, look, I'm going down this path and it's kind of, it's loads of fun and okay, it's not what God wants, but it's fantastic. But once you're on, it's very hard to get off. That's what happened with Lot, where they were saying, hold on, Lot, why are you arguing with us? When they were trying to batter down his door, they're kind of saying, look, you live here, you're part of this. You can't disagree with it. It was so he had to get God's help to, if you like, get off the tiger. Be very careful about kind of starting down a path that you find you can't get off. Okay, here's another question for you. Is what society offers you achievable? Something that's often thrown at Christians is, oh, you expect us to be perfect. We can't be perfect. Oh, yeah, who's going to be perfect? Oh, you think you're perfect. I don't think I'm perfect. I think I'm a completely flawed individual. And by the way, there's a misconception amongst a lot of young people that as you get older, kind of, you get wiser, which you do, and therefore your sin kind of decreases. That does not happen. You just become more aware of your sin. But I can achieve perfection, and you can achieve perfection through Christ. Okay, is what the world offers achievable? Now, we saw those magazine covers, and that most of them are about body image, hair, skin, makeup, all that stuff, right? And that is the standard that you're kind of aiming for, right? As far as you know, I do not have the next two images because they were given to me by a friend who works for a retouching company, okay? So I will deny all knowledge of this. So, hey, it's everyone's favorite Antipodean pop princess. It's Kylie. Right. Okay, so this is the photograph of Kylie that appeared in the magazine. This is the original. Let me just do that again. There's Kylie in the magazine. That's the actual photograph that the retouching house were given. Now, the first thing you might notice is I think she's wearing a top in that, and she's not anymore. Oh, hold on, where's she gone? There, she's not. But everything is gone, even things that really don't matter. You can't quite see it on this screen, maybe on those. There's the tiniest little crease just there. Get rid of that. What? Oh, yeah, don't want a crease. Who has a crease around their armpit? What a freak. Everything. Whiten the teeth, whiten the eyes, smooth out all the skin. Get rid of all these little things, make the hair shine, tidy up everything. What you are told is that, well, that's what you're presented. It's unachievable because it's not real. How can anyone achieve something that isn't real? You cannot achieve perfection. What you're being told, remember, this is the insidious message. This is what surrounds you. You see images like this all the time and they surround you. And eventually, if you're not careful, they permeate you and you start to believe that this is what it should be like. But it's not real. And you can't achieve it. Society is setting you something that actually isn't achievable, which I would say is kind of unfair. Okay, well, has it any lasting value? I get rid of Kylie because I actually find it a bit distracting with her kind of staring at me. There you go. Okay, has it any lasting value? Okay, if I said to you, the widow with the 2 copper coins, have you heard of her? Or the 2 pennies in the temple. Most of you have heard of her. So 2,000 years ago, or 2,000 years after her, you have heard of a woman who, we don't know her name, her age, anything about her other than she went into the temple and put 2 coins in the treasury. But because it was an act of God, if you like, or a godly act, I should say, because it was a godly act, 2,000 years later, I can say, the woman with the 2 copper coins, you go, I've heard of her. In 2,000 years, how many people, if Christ remains away, which I don't think he will for that long, in 2,000 years, if he remains away, how many people will have heard of Kim Kardashian? I'm going to suggest none. Why? Well, what value is there? What the widow in the temple did was this godly act, and it was so wonderful that 2,000 years later we're still talking about it, and I can just call her the widow with the 2 copper coins. In 2,000 years, no one's going to, oh yeah, Kim Kardashian. Yeah, she was amazing. She was basically famous for nothing, but made a load of money out of it. Seriously. It's true though, isn't it? So the things of the world, they don't really have any lasting value either. Very quickly, because, well, it's fine. We started late, so that's okay. It's my excuse, covers everything. Can you turn, please, to 2 Corinthians 8? Kim Kardashian, by the way, is worth about £350 million. Dollars, sorry. And yet, that has no lasting value either. In 2,000 years, how much of that money will she have? None, because she'll be dead. Yeah, that sounded really harsh, actually. Yeah, she's going to be dead. I didn't mean it like that at all. But you know what I mean. You can't take it with you when you go and all that stuff. Okay, have a look at this. Now, this is very interesting. 2 Corinthians 8, verse 10, the Apostle Paul says, so he's talking here about what people are kind of giving, what they're able to give. And 2 Corinthians 8, verse 10, says this, and here is my judgment about what is best for you in this matter. Last year, you were the first not only to give, but also to have the desire to do so. Now finish the work so that your eager willingness to do it may be matched by your completion of it according to your means. For if the willingness is there, the gift is acceptable. What does it say? According to what one has, not according to what one does not have. What does that mean? It means that God treats you as an individual. He says, my standards are right up here, but what I expect from each of you is different. Because some of you are in a position where you can give a lot. And some of you are in a position where you can't give so much. And maybe some of you are in a position where you're struggling to give anything. And all three of those gifts could be fine, as long as the willingness is there. God treats you as an individual. Does society do that, or does it just have one standard? God treats you as this individual, and it ties in very nicely with the thought last night, by the way, Jake. Thank you very much for that. You know, where he actually said, we all grow differently. It's a lovely phrase. I wrote it down. We all grow differently. And God says, yeah, you all grow differently. So actually, let me treat you all slightly differently in terms of what I expect from you. What loving parent says, there's no way you can do this, so you better do it. I expect it of you now. Like Amber, my 8-year-old, if I said to her, can you lift this heavy box out to the garage for me? That's cruel, because she can't. I could ask it of Harry, that's fine. There you go, I'm something good about Harry. He's pretty strong, right? Good at football too, right, ladies? So give me a call, because we need to hitch him up with someone. There's this girl at school called Charlie. She's lovely, but, you know, whatever, all that stuff. Anyway, come and see me about it later, all right? I'll tell you all about it. Oh, that's Charlie on the phone. But it would be cruel to ask Amber to do something that she can't do, but okay to ask Harry to do it. In the same way, God says, let me see what you are able to do and what you're not able to do. How lovely is that? That he sees you as an individual and what you can and what you cannot do. That's what we should be associating with. Those are the values that we want to take on board, that also that's how we treat each other. Those are the values that I want to absorb, and hopefully that you want to absorb. Okay, very quickly. Let's just try applying some of the world's values onto Jesus. Let's see. Right. So I'm thinking about all those magazine covers and stuff like that. How good does your skin have to be for Christ to save you? Seriously, how good does your skin have to be? How good do your eyebrows have to be? How good your eyebrows have to be before Christ says, I will give my life for you? How tall do you have to be? Someone down there said 6'1". 6'1". Actually, they didn't say that. I made up 6'1", so that's my height. But how tall? It's a stupid question. Okay, how many followers do you have to have on social media before Christ says, right, now I'll die for you? There was one of those magazine covers talking about build your own brand. This is a weird thing. How good does your brand have to be before Christ says, I'll hang on a cross for you? How popular do you have to be with your friends before he says, I'll die for you? All these things that are these messages that are surrounding us, and they bear no relation to the love of Christ. He says, whatever you are, whatever situation you're in, I still died for you. Those things don't matter to me. What matters to me is one thing. And this is, I love the fact that John talked about Jairus yesterday, and Jesus' answer to all Jairus' problems was, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 words. Don't be afraid. Just believe. Just have faith. Just trust. Just rely on me. That's what Jesus says. Doesn't matter about your hair, your skin, your friends, your social media, whatever. Don't be afraid about all that stuff. Just believe in me. Last thing very quickly, because we actually started 10 minutes late, so I've got about 3 minutes left. Can you turn, please, to 1 Samuel 17? 1 Samuel 17. It's quite a strange thing, this, when I started thinking about it. 1 Samuel 17, we've got, one of the great Sunday school stories, David and Goliath. A story that's so famous, they still talk about it like you might watch a sporting event. They go, this is a real David and Goliath kind of contest going on. Samwell crew, where are you? This is for you. Here you go. And friends. Good. I told them I'd put something in for them. So this is for you guys, right? And also, it means I've just woken them up, so that's good. We think in the story of David and Goliath, we often think of the mistakes Saul made. Have a look. We'll just look at a couple of verses to kind of see the situation. 1 Samuel 17, verse 8, please. Goliath stood up and shouted to the ranks of Israel, why do you come out and line up for battle? Am I not a Philistine, and are you not the servants of Saul? Choose a man and have him come down to me. If he is able to fight and kill me, we will become your subjects. But if I overcome him and kill him, you will become our subjects and serve us. Then the Philistines said, this day I defy the armies of Israel. Give me a man and let us fight each other. On hearing the Philistines' words, Saul and the Israelites were dismayed and terrified. There's something, we often talk about the fact Saul didn't have the faith to go out and fight, and he was the king, he was the leader, he was like head taller than anyone else. That's what we often concentrate on. There's a much more, in many ways, fundamental mistake, I believe, that Saul made. Okay, Goliath has laid out the rules here. Goliath has laid out the rules, and he said, so one man comes forward from each side, we fight each other. If you win, we'll become your servants. If we win, you'll become our servants. Those are the rules. And Saul says, okay, I'll play that game. That's the mistake. Why did he even enter into that? Why on earth would you enter into that? A 9-foot man comes out, an absolute beast of a man comes out and says, these are the rules, and they're completely skewed in my favor. Do you want to play? And Saul says, yeah, why not? If I set you a challenge and I said, right, challenge for your life, here you go. I want one of you to come up here and we'll see who can be the best fashionable portrait photographer with an English accent and a lack of a suntan, right? If it's me, you die. If it's you, I die. You wouldn't take that up, would you? I mean, I know it's a bit of a joke, but you wouldn't do it, would you? Because you say, well, why would I? It's completely skewed in your favor. Why did Saul even enter into it? Why didn't he just say, no, I'm not doing that? Let's just have a normal fight. But seriously, you look at it like that, and you go, why did he even get into that? How can I beat this man? Don't play the game. There's a brilliant saying that it's only a rat race if you become a rat. Why did he become the rat? And the same thing for us. These are the rules of society. This is the game you should play. Why? I have control over my life. I don't want to play that game. Forget it, because the rules are rubbish. And the other thing is, what happened? So when David beat Goliath, what should have happened? Someone tell me what should have happened. Yeah, Philistines should have surrendered. Did they surrender? No, they ran away. So it's a stupid game anyway, because you can't actually win. And that's like the world. You can't actually win. You can't reach that kind of perfection, the kind of retouched photographs. You'll never have enough money. You'll never have enough celebrity. You'll never have enough followers. You actually can't win it. Don't get involved in the game in the first place. Play a different game with a higher set of rules. Don't become, as it says, polluted by the world, because it happens without us even realizing it. Step out of that, step closer to God, play his game, which is the one that, because of Christ, you can win. Cool. Let's say a prayer. Lord God in heaven, we come before you humbly, but also in confidence, because your Son died for us and you love us so much, and we can approach your incredible throne. And we come to you and thank you for the time we've had together now, and pray that you will help keep us from being polluted by these insidious things of the world, things that can affect our lives in such a negative way. Help us to see the things that are noble and true and trustworthy. Help us to follow the qualities that are so important to you but so often forgotten, of gentleness and peace and joy and patience, faith, forgiveness, all these things. Help us to cut off the things that might be trying to worm their way into our lives. Help us to be aware of them, and also help us to warn each other against them. It's an amazing life you've given us, Lord.
It's a wonderful, exciting opportunity. So help us to make the most of that opportunity by living our lives to you. Through Jesus. Amen.